Jet Callahan had spent his whole life building something his father would be proud of. Or at least, that's what he had told himself. Standing outside Thunder Road Motors, hands deep in the pockets of his worn leather jacket, he wasn't so sure anymore. The dealership had been his father's dream, a small, honest shop where bikers could find not just a ride but a community. Over the years, under Jet's leadership, it had grown into Arizona's largest motorcycle dealership. Big profits, big expansions, big success. At least on paper. But lately, Jet couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone terribly wrong. He had overheard the rumors. Whispers about shady sales tactics, unfair financing, hidden fees. Stories of customers walking out feeling cheated instead of excited. And the worst part? It wasn't just rumors. The numbers had been gnawing at him for months. More complaints. More returns. More bad reviews. And the way the sales team had been outperforming projections? That didn't happen without cutting corners. His father, Jack Callahan, had built this place on honesty and respect. He had a simple motto, ride with honor. And Jet had believed, truly believed, that he was carrying that torch. That he was making his father proud. But now? Now he wasn't so sure. So today, he wasn't here as the owner. Today, he was just another biker down on his luck. Dressed in an old, frayed leather jacket and boots that had seen better days, Jet had transformed himself into someone his own employees wouldn't recognize. Someone just looking for a fair deal. Because if his father's legacy was still alive, today was the second Jet stepped inside, he was hit with a wave of nostalgia. The smell of motor oil and fresh leather still filled the air, just like it had when he was a kid, running around the shop while his father tinkered on bikes. But something felt different. The showroom was brighter, flashier. The bikes gleamed under showroom lights, polished to perfection. Salesmen in pressed shirts and designer watches hovered like vultures, ready to pounce. Jet wandered toward a vintage Harley, running his fingers over the handlebars, pretending to inspect it. That's when he saw Dex. The guy was everything Jet hated about modern salesmanship. Slick. Smug. Sharp as a knife in all the wrong ways. A diamond stud glinted in his ear, and his hair was styled like he spent more time in front of a mirror than actually selling bikes. Dex was one of their top salesmen, but Jet had seen the reports. The complaints. And now, he wanted to see the man in action. Dex sauntered over, flashing a grin full of teeth but no warmth. Looking for a ride, buddy? We got deals so good you'll think we're losing money. Jet forced himself to play along. Yeah, maybe. Just looking for something solid. Nothing fancy. Dex nodded like he understood, but Jet saw the calculation in his eyes. How much could he squeeze out of this guy? I got just the thing, Dex said, leading him toward a matte black cruiser. This beauty? Reliable, smooth ride. And because I like you, I'll throw in a special discount. Jet glanced at the price tag. $14,999. It was at least $3,000 too high. He knew because he had set the original price himself. That's a little steep, Jet muttered. Dex waved a hand, already pulling out his pen. Don't worry about that. We got financing options. And a couple small fees, mandatory stuff, you know. Nothing major. Nothing major. Jet's stomach twisted. This wasn't how his father had run things. A handshake was supposed to mean something. But before he could react, the door chimed open. And everything changed. Two men walked in. They weren't here to browse. The taller one, Vance, looked like he'd been through hell and back. His army jacket was faded, the fabric thin at the elbows. His boots were worn nearly to the soles. Beside him, Brody was built like a bear, broad shoulders, grease-stained hands, an engine mechanic through and through. But it was his eyes that caught Jet's attention. They were tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with a good night's sleep. The kind that comes from carrying too much for too long. Vance let out a slow breath. Ain't no way we're getting a fair deal here. Brody's voice was rough. We gotta try, man. My kid's chemo starts next week. Sold my truck just to get here. Jet froze. Sold his truck? His gut clenched. Brody had sold his only vehicle, not for a luxury, not for fun, but because his kid needed cancer treatment. And now, all he had left was the hope that he could get a bike to get him to work and the hospital. Hope. Hope was a dangerous thing in the wrong hands. Brody pointed to a beat-up motorcycle in the corner. How much for that one? Dex barely glanced at it. That old thing? $8,500. Final price. Brody's face fell. But the online ad said $4,000. Dex shrugged, already turning away. Must have been a typo. Prices got updated this morning. Vance's jaw clenched. You're squeezing folks dry. This place used to mean something. Old man Callahan would have never, Dex smirked. Old man Callahan's dead. His kid runs things now. And he wants profit, not parades. Jet's heart slammed against his ribs. Profit. Not parades. For years, he had believed he was honoring his father's name. What if he had been blind to the truth all along? His fists clenched. His chest burned. Enough. With one swift motion, Jet ripped off his sunglasses. You're fired. The showroom froze. Dex turned, eyes wide. Mr. Callahan, out. Now. Jet's voice shook with fury. Dex's smirk evaporated. He knew there was no talking his way out of this one. He bolted toward the door. Silence hung thick in the air. Brody and Vance stared at Jet like they were seeing a ghost. You own this place? Vance asked. Jet exhaled. Yeah. Brody blinked. Then why the act? Jet swallowed hard. Because I needed to see if my father's legacy was still alive, or if I killed it. The paperwork was signed. The price? $4,000. No hidden fees. That night, a new sign hung outside, where your word is your ride. Because truth isn't in the ledger, it's in the lives we touch along the way, and for the first time in years, Jet knew exactly where he was going.